Money with Friends. Every week we have the privilege to come to you to share some really great information about money, life, and everything else. We say on this show that money encompasses everything. So of course, our passion is to talk to you about money and planning. And every year, the beginning of the year, we encourage you to plan for your financial life. And of course, part of planning, you have to think of the what ifs. What ifs? There are so many what ifs. You know, what if you get disabled? What if you die prematurely? Who's gonna take care of your family? You know, every time we go to the store, I know every time I go to the store to buy electronics or something pricey, something that's valuable, I'm always being asked, do you want to have coverage on this just in case something were to happen that you'll be covered so that you won't have to come out of pocket to buy this again? And I always typically say yes, because I say yes because of the fact that I don't want to have to come up with that money, especially if it's an emergency. So that's the same reason why you want to have life insurance. So tonight's topic is life insurance matters. Why does it matter? Well, we're going to go over that tonight. We're going to give you an opportunity to tag, share, let your friends know that this topic tonight is for them, it's for everybody. We all need to know about insurance, why is it important, and how it can help you. So we'll go over 5 key benefits. But before I go over that, let me just say briefly, there was a survey done. You know, the insurance industry is always surveying families to see how many of them are actually covered. We found out that only 50% of Americans who were surveyed actually are covered with insurance. More men than women, 50% though. So we want to up that number because we know the benefits of those benefits, great benefits of having life insurance. So without further ado, I would like to welcome my awesome guests who are on tonight, my awesome friends. You know them, they've been here before, but this topic is for everybody and they're here to talk about it. Curtis is a coach. I'm going to give Curtis an opportunity to say hello first because he's our expert for tonight. And then we have our friend, Melissa, who's always here to learn from us and we're learning from her. So thank you both for being on the show. Please, Curtis, introduce yourself and Lisa, quickly do so we can dive into this awesome conversation about why life insurance matters.
Good evening, Gabrielle. Good evening, Lisa, and everybody else in the sound of my voice. My name is Curtis Chambers, and yes, I am a financial coach. I work with individuals in the greater Boston area and help folks in terms of estate planning, launching a business, getting out of debt, and of course, asset building. And so insurance is part of, taking care of an estate and being responsible for generational wealth building. And I'm looking forward to the discussion tonight.
Yeah, definitely. Taking care of your estate. Lisa, you're on mute, but please say hello.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Curtis and Gabrielle. Thank you again for having me on the show. I'm very passionate about this topic about insurance. It's come at a really pivotal time, so I'm excited to work on that. My background's in marketing. I've been in the marketing industry for over 10 plus years, and I'm excited about tonight.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much, Lisa, for being on. So Curtis, I just stated briefly, and we're talking about that offline, that about 50% of Americans do not have life insurance coverage as of 2022. And they said that the number of actually those who are getting insurance have gone down. In 2022, it's gone down 22%. And also, I was surprised to hear that, well, maybe not surprised that 53% of American men do have insurance versus 46% of American women. So what do you think about that? And in your mind, what is insurance and who should have insurance?
That's pretty loaded. I would say what I think about that is, there's cost and there's value and worth. Some people will see a cost in something and immediately have a reaction to something, and some people see the value, right? Something, family time spent, just in general, things for yourself. There are things that we just wouldn't be without, and they're non-negotiables. And then there's things that we feel like if it's not nailed down and the water's starting to come on the ship, it's going overboard, And so, unfortunately, when you're looking at, like I did a workshop recently with subscriptions, and so that we could see, is this something that you want? No judgment either way. If yes, keep it. If no, throw it overboard. And for some reason, things like this are never even broached in terms of a topic. And if they are, when things get tight, it's one of the first things people stop paying when it should be the absolute last. So insurance is that peace of mind. It is what allows you to pivot and go into many different directions. And And basically, it is just a mechanism by which you're insuring, right? With our auto, it's compulsory, but with this, it's kind of voluntary. So some people kind of just don't see that value in it, but it is something that will allow you to have that peace of mind when you're budgeting and knowing what's going on for not only right now, but planning for the future and future generations.
Yeah, and I've read someplace, Lisa, where it says insurance, life insurance is love insurance. Do you believe that's true? Love insurance?
I do, because if you love yourself and the people around you, it can also benefit you, but the people that you love when you pass. So you can have a benefit while you're living and also when you're not here.
Yeah. So to me, just like you said earlier, Curtis, like it is something that it's optional. It's not something that you have to have, but at the end of the day, if you love yourself and you love those around you, you're gonna have to do it. So we earlier, when I posted tonight's show, I said that we're gonna share 5 key benefits, and we already addressed some of those. So to me, one of the benefits that you just mentioned, Curtis, to having life insurance or to really opt in, exercising that option to have a life insurance policy is because you want to have peace of mind. So can we elaborate with that a little bit more? Because when you tell someone, would you like to have peace of mind? Because I've had that, they're like, what do you mean by peace of mind? Can you explain a little bit, Curtis? What do you think insurance with peace of mind, what that really means?
Again, it goes to what you value. If you value your family's, the calm, the sense of peace, the sense of whatever the opposite of anxiety is, well, if you value that, then you want something like this. Why? Because this is hitting real close to home. I've had a loss in a, in-law, extended family member recently, and we don't know until later on sometimes that someone was either underinsured or uninsured, and then family members are scrambling. The hat gets passed around, so to speak, because can you contribute this? Can you GoFundMe, or without even using that? I mean, that term is used interchangeably. Anything that's crowdsourcing, I should say, without using a proper name of a company, forgive me. But yeah, that crowdsourcing is just basically the digital version of panhandling, passing around the hat, saying, can you help me? And if you had insurance in place, that'd be the last thing you'd be worried about. You'd be more spending time making your arrangements, mourning, celebrating that life, instead of fretting and being sad, as well as, now what am I going to do as far as paying for the home, the expenses, medical, final expenses and things of that nature, all because you didn't see it ahead of time to pay 20, 30, maybe $40 a month.
Correct, because it was optional. So Lisa, I know we talked about it earlier that, at the end of the day, you just mentioned, Curtis, that you don't see it. But if you are gainfully employed and you have a family, you have an income coming in, right? That income doesn't do the second benefit, in my opinion, is to replace your income. How important is that? Because whether or not you're mourning, guess what? Electric bill is coming, the mortgage is coming, everything else. How are you gonna pay if you don't have anything to replace it? Say more about that, Lisa.
Right, exactly. Whether you're in a partnership or even as someone who's single and you're going to leave something behind for a family member, they may not have the means or the salary to be able to upkeep the assets that you're going to provide to them after that. So having life insurance can help that. Not only that, though, you don't want anyone to be mourning you and being in distress. And then worrying about how are they going to pay for different things. And, as Curtis mentioned, there was a young woman of a friend of mine, 40 something, no life insurance. And like, they have to go and ask for funds. And the person's mother, who didn't expect her daughter to pass away so soon or suddenly, is now at a point where she's at a loss. And she's also trying to mourn. So it kind of just creates a lot of stress and anxiety. So if you love your family and want to give a peace of mind to those who you love, and also for yourself, insurance is very important.
Yeah, you say for yourself, because to me, I always say that you're gonna have obligations, your mortgage and everything, especially if you have a family. You pass, your wife is left with the kids and the mortgage and all those bills. They're gonna need to be covered, or vice versa. Your husband is left with everything. You're gonna have to be able, because you mentioned that insurance can be selfless and selfish. The reason we say selfless and selfish, because at the end of the day, your insurance policy could be, you could be the primary beneficiary of that policy, right, Curtis? And then if something were to happen, you were to die, then your family will be secondary beneficiary, because that's when they collect a death benefit. Can you explain that to most folks? Because again, to me, the third reason why you should have insurance is an act of love, because insurance is a love insurance. So can you explain a little bit in terms of the love for self, the selfless part, or the selfish part, and the love for others, the selfless part, Curtis?
I mean, at the very least, most people care about themselves, and it's not in a bad sense. It's the same analogy of putting the mask on yourself in an airplane when the pressure drops. My son is 7. He's not able to fend for himself. So I got to make sure I'm good. And when I'm good, I can turn around and make sure he's good. So you want to take care of yourself. You want to make sure that you're not fretting and anxious and worried. And if you have that, if you see the power in it and see the value in it, and then you have that in place, now you can have, because when you're a person that is on top of your cash flow and understanding that that's a fixed, expense, if it's a whole life policy, and we'll talk about the various types in a second, then you can make moves. A lot of people are making plans with trusts and making sure that for tax reasons, when we start talking to higher level conversations about, wealth accumulation and passing it on, you want to make sure that you have, the most protection as far as tax goes. So yeah, when you have the policy like this, it can help you out. It can help you out now because there are living benefits associated with certain policies, there's certain things that you can use it for. And there's some things for later on as well. So it's like, oh, let's keep the man out of my money, out of my pockets, and I can borrow from it, or I can do a lot of maneuvering. Again, that's the things that you would talk about when you sit with your professional. You're not going to remember if we try to get into all the weeds of it today, but just understanding that there's some things that you can do now. It's not just when I'm unalived, it's when you're alive as well as when you've gone on to glory. So there's something for now and there is something for later. Just that's the thing that I want people to take away, why there's a value in it.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because
go ahead. One more thing too, like nowadays you have to have 2 incomes in the household. With inflation where it is, it's usually 2 incomes, if not 3, because someone may be working a double job, a side gig, something to make ends meet. So if you automatically cut one of those, now that person is swimming underneath the debt and trying to be able to get out of it.
Yeah.
So Lisa, I know, one second, I want to follow up on that because it's so important and profound what she's saying as a financial coach, because we're having this discussion. How come it seems like these other insurances are mandatory? They even made sure you had this health insurance. You definitely in this state have to have auto insurance because that impacts some of these other people. And so, you just got to start thinking, why is this not mandatory? This should be mandatory, because then you start getting taken advantage of. If you have a home and now you're the single, salary, guess what? Some predators can come in and take that home for you while you're distraught or what have you. At the very least, you're not making a decision when you're either too high or too low, because that insurance is taking care of that. The house is paid off now. A lot of people have what they call mortgage insurance, meaning it's just basically life insurance that the amount of whatever the mortgage is, so that way we're good. When you have that, to Lisa's point, now you don't have to worry about changing your lifestyle. And now we're moving to, let's say, the projects or a place that has community violence. You get to make decisions based on what you want, not because what you have to do. And that could definitely impact your quality of life. So that's a great point.
Yeah, definitely. And I love the part that, you're taking care of yourself as well as somebody else. And we just mentioned living benefits. For those of you who are not familiar with the insurance industry, you might not know, but those who are in nursing, I know of my friends who are nurses, when I said, when you have chronic illnesses and you're not able to work, when you have critical illnesses that you like cancer, heart attack, or things like that, or terminal, the doctor is saying like, listen, you have 2 years. Not too long ago, I remember seeing something on a post, this lady saying like, oh, this young lady, unfortunately, she's terminally ill. She's been diagnosed. The doctor saying like she only has 12 months to live because she had cancer. And what she did next was she decided, while she was still up and running and ready to do it, she took a bunch of her friends overseas for a long vacation. And she was like, how is she able to do all that stuff? I said, most likely, I bet you she has life insurance, because when you have critical illnesses, you sick, you can access that insurance. That's why it's selfish, because it's for you. When you go into a terminal illness and you have 12 months, 24 months, you can access that money and use it to do something that you love with your family, and the balance can be left for those you love. And also chronic illness, because I know activities of daily living, being able to move, being able to feed yourself, being able to do so many things that we take for granted all the time. If you're not able to do 2 out of the 6 activities of daily living, your insurance policy can take care of you. So that's why you cannot say it's an act of love, but the love is for self first. And then you think about family as well. So definitely. So I said number 4, that insurance help you live with dignity, and I actually let you live with respect and die with dignity. The reason you mentioned crowdfunding, you know, personally, as someone who's been around the industry and been in the industry for so long, I refuse to give anything to crowdfunds. Anything that comes to me, like when somebody said, so and so is looking for help to pay for this, to pay for new funeral, I say no, because to me, that's not dying with dignity. How do you feel about that, Curtis? Do you feel the same way? Because I'm like, especially if you close family members or people in my environment who've known me for all these years that I've been talking about insurance, if you didn't get it, I'm not going to support that GoFundMe or crowdfunding that you're going to do. How do you feel about that?
You remember the old term people used to say, I gave at the office? They used to say, I already gave to whatever charity or whatever. And it's an old school term. But my new version of I gave at the office is, you know, I already provided, right? So let's just put it like this. Lack of preparation on your part does not constitute an emergency on my behalf.
Correct.
So lack of preparation on your behalf, all those times when you had me doing the lives, I was doing things like this, my live videos, Instagram lives, and I was giving free content, free sauce, free nuggets. People weren't taking that. So that was me giving to you. I already gave to the office, but it's just not in the form that you might have wanted. You want to give me $10, $20, $50. I will not, because the fundamental nuggets that I gave you was worth more than that. Could have been 50,000, 100,000 if you use those things. So no, I'm not going to contribute to the GoFundMe or to crowdsourcing. I'll get it right one point. Nothing wrong with GoFundMe. It's just that that's the one that's most popular. So I don't contribute to that because I'm not as wealthy as Oprah Winfrey or Jay-Z or what have you. And so people don't realize that I get those all the time. And if I give to all of them, then I'm going to be the one asking tomorrow. So I'm not doing that because I'm in a position to give you the game, and I'm giving it to you. And I know these same people are at the parties, the Super Bowls, the travels, you know, whatever you drink, smoke, I don't care, but you have the money to do those things. Just curve off a couple of those things automatically so that you don't see it. And if you put that into your fund, your savings account, or your emergency account and your insurance, then you would have been all set. But no, you couldn't be bothered. So now it's my turn to not be bothered. That's
yeah. So the idea of living with dignity, living with respect and dying with dignity. I know personally, I've had the privilege of delivering large checks to family members or to families who are mourning. You know, the spouse passed and the wife or the husband was able to collect $500,000 check or $250,000 check, or whatever the policy was, they're able to do it. Guess what? Because of that, this person is able to live with respect because you are respectable enough to think about, I don't want to be a burden and I don't want to be a charity case for anybody. And you wanted to die with dignity because you didn't want people to talk about you behind your back. Because when you come to somebody and they're like, I don't have it, why are they asking me this? That's them talking about you when you're no longer here. Or when you're sick, again, we talked about the selfish part of it. When you're sick, you don't want to be a burden. So Lisa, you had mentioned earlier that offline, the reason why many people right now, we say it's about 50% of Americans do not have life insurance. And you mentioned that even more so in our culture or even in the Black and brown communities. And you had mentioned something. Can you share that with us, please?
Yes, I want to say several years ago, maybe if not 10 to 15 years ago, a little bit more than that, many people got burned. There were insurance companies going from home to home, and providing predatory life insurance policies that were never clearly explained to the person who's receiving it or signing it. So they had great intentions, but after maybe getting burned once or twice from two different companies, or just said, forget it. It's not useful. It can't be worked out. But really what you want to do is seek someone in your community that you trust, that speaks your language, that you want to be able to have education from, so that they can explain to you here's the different types of policies. Here's what you can afford based on your income, giving you options so that you at least have something that you feel comfortable with that you're signing. So it's definitely something that's important, and seeking out people that you trust in your community to help you.
So because the apprehension is real, because many times people are apprehensive because of the fact that historically Black and brown communities have been taken advantage of, like you said. When it's time to claim or to file a claim, they tell them they don't have a policy or the policy lapsed. That's why, again, we do this show, Let's Talk Money with Friends, every Wednesday. We want to empower you because we say money encompasses everything. Money is life insurance. Money is love insurance. You need to know exactly what it is and how it can work for you so that you can make decisions that are really the best for you and your family, and that you can line up with other people, with professionals who are going to be able to help you build the legacy. So to me, the fifth and final reason why you should have life insurance is because life insurance helps you create generational wealth, the legacy. Can you talk a little bit about that, Curtis?
Yeah, I mean, when you're talking about these various types, your term life is the cheapest form of coverage. And if you can get, something like you said, one of those big checks that you're alluding to, 6 figures and above, and you're only paying $25, $30 a month, that allows you to have the other, there's an old saying where people talk about, using term and investing the rest. So, well, you have this money that's left over, or this money that you're not spending. And so therefore you could be saving, getting out of debt, and investing. Those types of things is what you're looking for now in the whole life side. People that, and I'm not going to ascribe to.
I was just thinking about like the generational legacy aspect of it, of having insurance, like being able to leave something for your children. I know we've talked about it, Curtis. I didn't mean to cut you, but I wanted to point that because we talked about it. We said that, because we both believers, like a wise man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. Mm-hmm. And yes, we have reasons why we should be afraid because of what Lisa just mentioned. But at the end of the day, you still have to leave a legacy if you're a wise man for your children.
Absolutely, without question.
How do you not? Why is it important to live that? Because I know we talked about having to start over generations.
When you have that insurance, like we're talking about, as I was mentioning, when you have that sizable amount, just think about the person who is able to stay in a household. And I wouldn't even say it's more being afraid based off what Lisa said. It's just being more diligent and vigilant. There's people who sell us bad cars, and it's like, oh no, I need to make sure I'm not getting a lemon. Let me go to a reputable dealer. So I'm not going to not drive a car. I'm just going to make sure I'm going to a good deal. I'm not going to not get a girlfriend. She's a bad one over there. Well, I'm going to get me a good one the next time and try to do my work, same deal. So with this insurance, I want to make sure that if in that example that I had, let's say 250,000 or 500,000, and now the home is paid off, now you have that asset that can stay in the family forever and not get sold and have to face capital gains taxes and things of that nature. No, you keep it, you get a trust, and that way I can name your son, your daughter, or whoever in that trust. And so they're not selling and having to face those things. This is how you can keep that wealth established, first of all, because the property values are just going higher and higher and higher. And I know because people are coming into the neighborhoods all the time, surveying and canvassing, trying to find ways to get you out. So, that means you have something of value. You hold on to that. You have that insurance. That home is now paid off. And now you have an asset that you can leverage. Again, it's another part of a conversation, but now you have that property. You can leverage that in many ways and get some cash flow and do many things that allow you to invest and get more properties and so on and so forth. So it's definitely something that can be leveraged.
It's so important to think about that generational wealth and legacy, because again, we share that stat from the Federal Reserve over and over again that the average Black and brown families, their net worth is $8. Do you believe, Lisa, that many reasons why? Because sometimes I remember this girl, her mom died, perhaps the same similar situation. She didn't have $1 to her name to bury her mom. She actually had to go to the bank and borrow $20 I think it was like $15,000 she had to go borrow in order for her to bury her mom after several days of waiting to get that approval. Now, because of that, she was set back $15,000 because guess what though? Mom happens to be Haitian. She had been asked over and over again by someone to get life insurance. And she said, I don't want to get life insurance. I don't want anybody to kill me. I don't want anybody to kill me for life insurance. But she ended up dying at a very young age. So what do you want to say lastly about this legacy? How important it is to set up that legacy, Lisa? I know you have
Yes.
multiple generations in your family.
Yes, it's more than important to have the life insurance. Not only, within our community, just thinking about it, you're leaving something to start catapult your children to another place. Not only that, you give them also a peace of mind to say, okay, I now can warn you. And also to respect your wishes. I think it's even beyond that. What are your wishes? How do you want to be buried? Things like that. What do you want it to look like? Whatever that is, that can already be set. And so your child will feel like, or whoever will feel like, I have done a service to you in the way that you wanted at the time. Secondly, you set them up for generational wealth in a way where, God forbid, they lose their job for whatever reason, or they're in a bad job situation, or they're having a hard time. This can now catapult them into a way for them to keep anything that you might have left behind, or start to build something for their generations to come. One of the things is just thinking about, personally for me, as I'm also getting ready to have my first child, is, can I get a whole life insurance for my son, from the time that they're born? Things like that, making sure that everyone is okay. God forbid anything happens, they're all set. And it does give me a peace of mind to have life insurance, not only for myself and my family, but for my mother as well. And knowing that at the end of the day, everything can be taken care of: mortgage, funeral, everything. I feel like a weight is lifted. You might feel like the amount is a lot now, but when you're thinking about it in the grand scheme of things, it can serve you in many ways. And we'll get into the different types of insurance later on.
Yes, before we go any further, we just wanted to let you know there are some really great benefits. And if you're someone who love yourself and love other people, primarily to me, that's why you gotta do exercise that option. But there are many options, Curtis. And you started talking about the term insurance. Can you briefly, as an insurance agent, can you please briefly go over quickly the different types of insurance that someone could opt for, and some of the benefits to having those?
Yeah, definitely. As I was mentioning earlier, the two main types that we always hear about is term life insurance versus whole life insurance. And term is exactly what the word means: for a term or a period of time. It is very cheap, comparatively speaking. It's going to cover you for a term like 10 years or 15 years, 20 years, sometimes 25. What I think about that is, speaking of someone like my son, who's 7, my daughter's 17. So you're thinking of your children, if you're thinking of term, let's say you're thinking about the ages where they're not of their own to sustain themselves yet. So Lisa's having a child, you would like to think maybe 20 years, maybe 25 years, because it's going to take them at least to the age where they're now able to fend for themselves. So if you're looking at a term policy, excuse me, Alexa, that would be something that you'd be thinking about, is the term and it's going to expire. You're paying for that time frame. It comes with a nice bigger face amount, and the premium is much more affordable, but it will expire. And if it does, and you did not expire in that time frame, then there's no money exchanged. That's it. You're now older than you were. You may not be in as great a health as you were, so you have to think about that. Whereas you can do what Lisa was also talking about, which is that whole life, which may seem like a lot because it's usually 10, 15 times the amount, but it covers you. It is locked in. That rate, unlike the term, which can change depending on the policy you got, the premium is locked in from minute one, and it's until you breathe your last. But it also accumulates cash value. It's something that, in addition to the death benefit, that's something that you could take advantage of while you're here on this side. The policy never expires as long as you make the premium payments. And it's, like I said, the most expensive form. Typically, there are tons, there are several others, but those are the two main categories: a term versus the whole life.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much, Curtis. I remember when I used to teach a class at church called God, Money, and You. I wanted to help everybody to understand because that's why I got into this industry, to help everybody to understand. And I always say term is like renting an apartment. As long as you pay your rent, you get to keep it. But at any given day, you could either move out of that apartment or they could ask you to move out, right? Especially after your lease expires, right?
Mhm.
Because it's not yours, it's not permanent. Whereas a permanent insurance is like owning your own home. Of course, you have to pay the mortgage. Of course, you have to maintain it to make sure the property stays in check. But at the end of the day, if you do what you're supposed to do, pay the premium, which is the monthly payment, take care of yourself, guess what? That property is yours for life, and that permanent insurance is yours for life. So do you want to rent or do you want to own? It's up to you. But at the end of the day, who wants to be homeless? Nobody. So you gotta own something. You gotta either rent, you gotta be in something. You gotta either rent or you gotta own. If you find yourself homeless, it's dangerous because they say 50% of Americans, and even more so in certain cultures, certain communities, do not have a home. You don't have protection. You don't have a place. You don't have, your family is not covered. That's what they call it, coverage. Your family is not covered. You don't have shelter to protect your life against unforeseeable, unpredictable losses. So it's very important that you take advantage of that. So Curtis, when do you take advantage of that? Do you wait
Yes.
until you get oh, I wait until I'm married, or I wait until the kids are out of the college, or I wait until I'm ready to die? When do you take advantage of? You mentioned it, but let's be very specific right now. When do
No.
you take advantage, exercise your privilege? I say it's a privilege, it's not a right. When do you exercise this privilege?
Well, very, very short anecdote, very short story. I have a young lady who unfortunately expired about 3 months ago. And when she passed on, she had no insurance. And the thought process is, like you said, different cultures. She's in the Cape Verdean community, and she says, well, my husband has insurance. And so, and that for her meant we're good. And I just thought about, like, well, imagine me and you in a car and you're saying, I'm not going to put a seatbelt on because he's wearing a seatbelt. That doesn't, how does that help you out when this car crashes and you go flying through the window? So, you know, she's young, didn't die from any sickness or anything like that. It was sudden. And now these kids don't have a mom, and her partner doesn't have a partner. So you should be getting that from early. If anything, when we talk about generationally, I love what Lisa's saying. She's getting it for her child. That promotes that type of behavior, and then they'll take it over when they get of age or what have you. They can take over the payments. So you should be having that yesterday. That's the best answer. Get in a time machine and get it yesterday. If you can't get it yesterday, then you need to get it today.
Today, the time is now. The time is very now. So I'm talking to those of you who are on 50%. I don't care if you're white, black, Hispanic, whatever community that you form, saying like 50% of you do not have coverage. Basically, the analogy that I just shared, you homeless, you don't have covering for yourself and your family. So the time is always now, and you can get it for as young as a child. I remember years ago, 6 months old. Once a child reaches 6 months old, you can go, actually Gerbers and other things, they'll do it even sooner than that. But there are other ones that are more pricey and more fancier. They want you to wait for your child to be 6 months old. So Lisa, yeah, 6 months old, you can get ready to help your child, set them up so that they don't have to worry about that. So Lisa, we said as soon as possible. I know we had a conversation, and I say, Lisa, we say as soon as possible is a privilege. Why do you do it as soon as possible is a privilege? Have you and me talked about being uninsurable, right?
Yep.
What do you think about that?
You can be insurable for many reasons, and as you age, the reasons grow even larger and larger. So as you're young, your health is in great shape. Before, I think for women, it's before you have children, if you don't have it yourself. There's before you have any types of illnesses, it's really important that you get a life insurance. And like yesterday is what everybody's saying, but it's really true because you don't know what tomorrow holds. So really, while you're in great health, because they do like, depending on the type of life insurance you have, they do checkups to see where you are and blood work and et cetera, or some type of medical assessment to see where you are health wise, so that they can say, okay, we'll insure you up to this amount, or vice versa. So it's important to do it while you're young, or today. Each day you get older, and the more expensive it becomes.
Yeah, yeah. So it's very important, the idea of being uninsurable. Again, it's a privilege, it's not a right. So you
Right.
have to exercise it, because what happens, Curtis, if you become uninsurable, you cannot get insurance. You might still be able to get it, but I know some people who are forced to stay at that job. They really have the love to dream of owning a business, but they cannot get out of the job because of the fact that the only place that they could get insurance is through a group insurance at work, right? So
Yeah.
that's an option. Even when you're young, you should sign up for those. But when you have no other options but that's a burden, right?
Doesn't feel good. I mean, group insurance, if it's extra, that's great, because part of your benefits package is a lot of times they'll give you 1 times your salary. And if the average person is making 40, 50, 60,000, hey, I'll take a free or extra 40, 50, 60. But if that's your only thing, now your options are getting drying up, because you can't leave that organization. It's kind of a weird feeling. And I mean, I guess you still could. You just have to go somewhere else that's going to be able to do that. But again, you just want to be able to have that flexibility and that autonomy, right? Control over your own life, that agency. So it's important to do it. And with the way stuff is happening now, I mean, the people are getting sick, and we don't know what the next pandemic type of thing is. So definitely, you don't want to wait and then become uninsurable. The laws are changing. Marijuana laws are here now, so that changes people's rates and all that stuff. So you don't even want to have to deal with that. Just go ahead and get it done. Go ahead and get it.
Definitely. I know I've had to say to some people, AARP, you gotta go. If you're over 50, try them, because they'll help you with a group policy, or AAA. They might be able to help you with group policy because you did not exercise the option early on when you are young and healthy. As a matter of fact, your parents should exercise that option for you as soon as possible. But if unfortunately your parents did not get to exercise it, like a parent like Lisa was thinking, my unborn child, how can I help them out? If you did not get to do that, if they did not get to do that, you gotta do it as soon as possible. As soon as you are able. If you are new to this country, I know when I was writing policies like Curtis, they're like, you have to be in this country at least 2 years, right? In order for you to qualify to get a policy. But as soon as you are able, you should get it, because selfless. You wanna make sure that other people are taken care of. Your family, your people that you care about, your children, your wife especially, but maybe siblings and other people are taken care of. But selfish, because at the end of the day, you want to be able to take care of yourself if you become disabled, or if you want to be able to have your final expenses taken care of, right? Because it happens all the time. So, Curtis, are there one last thing that you want to share about insurance, and why is it important to exercise the option and not wait until it is too late?
I would believe that everybody should be thinking about all insurance, income insurance, by starting a business, life insurance. You get what I'm saying? So you just want to make sure that you have, of course, your health insurance. There's all those aspects, because right now, with inflation being the way it is, there's no guarantee you're going to have that job anyway to have the insurance. So therefore, you need to have something along the lines of an extra stream of income, so that you can pay for the whole life if that's what you want, just so that you're not being pigeonholed into something because you have to. So I start with estate planning, wills, healthcare proxies. These are the type of things I do with and for my clients. So just overall, and insurance is part of that, making sure that you're good.
Yeah, because if you have lofty dreams, Lisa, let's say you say, I love my daughter and I want to make sure I pay for her wedding, or I want my children to go to college and they're only 5, 6, 7 right now, or I want my wife to stay in this neighborhood because we love the school. We opted to be here because of the fact that we love this community, and I wouldn't want anything to happen to them and have to be forced to move. Because I remember years ago, I used to, I took that training, it was probate. And let me tell you, like you said, the predatory people who are coming, they go to probate court. You know, when somebody passed away, you have to go to court and announce it. They'll go to probate court to watch to see who just died and who is in dire need. Because if they don't see an insurance policy listed, they know you're gonna be in a dire need for money, for cash flow, and therefore they will come after you and try to get that property at a discount because they know you're desperate. So why is it important again, Lisa? Can you share one last word as to why you feel strongly about the fact that everybody should have life insurance?
I think the key thing for me is self-love and also being selfless and making sure that the people around you that you love, that you're leaving things behind. And not only that, if you've worked hard for your home or you've worked hard for some of the assets and you plan on giving them to somebody, whether it's your niece, your friend, your aunt, whomever, your children, you want them to be able to afford whatever it is that you're giving them, because then your legacy is no more. It's kind of washed. And not only that, you've added an extra amount of stress. To add to what Curtis is saying too, is I'm encouraging those who are either first generation or young, check in with your parents to have that conversation. Is there life insurance? If not, you may be the one to have to initiate that. You can pay it for them. You can figure out a way to do that so that way you also have a peace of mind. So even if your parents cannot afford the life insurance, you can actually take it upon yourself to pay one for them. So talk to people in your community, your aunts, people that you know that may not have one. Encourage them to speak to someone in their community that they trust that does provide life insurance for them to get it. It gives a peace of mind to the family.
Yeah, the benefits are endless. And if you have long-term goals and you have generational goals, you want to exercise this option. But the time is now, because your age matters, your health matters, the type of insurance that you want to opt for really matters. So it's very important. The amount that you want for coverage, it's going to matter when it comes to how much you're going to have to pay for it. So that's why the sooner the better. When your parents are young, they're still young, exercise that option for them as quickly as possible. You don't want to wait until they're 90 and you know you're going to have to pay for funeral. That's when you're looking for insurance and you cannot get anything more than $10,000. We want you to build a generational wealth. We would like for you to have peace of mind. We say life insurance is love insurance. It's love for oneself and love for your family and community. It's very important that you exercise that option today. Please tag, share, make a comment. Let your friends know that Let's Talk Money with Friends. We are here every Wednesday. You cannot say you haven't heard. You cannot say you didn't know. You cannot say nobody told me, because I'm here on Let's Talk Money with Friends. Not only have I told you, but you have the privilege to exercise the option to pay it forward and let your friends know that we are here by clicking the like, by clicking the share button and letting them know that this is a program that they should follow, because the information that we share here is priceless. As I said again, I will not contribute to any crowdfunding because I've already given my contribution and I did it today. So thank you, Curtis, for your contribution. Thank you for Lisa for your contribution. Please pay it forward, share, tag, make a comment, and let your friends know that life insurance matters today. Get it today. Thank you. Have a blessed day.